What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar going into tomorrow, what's going on with news involving Tesla, what you should be watching for as we approach tomorrow. But before I begin these all this information, before I give you guys any price predictions, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moon deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. There's only 1 day left to get this offer. Anyways, when it comes to Tesla, as you guys can see, Tesla has a very interesting looking structure right over here. Tesla has a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure that does favor the upside direction for the month of June/July. And considering the fact that Tesla's green 78% of the time in June is a very, very good sign for the stock. Now, one thing worth noting is that even though for the more medium term I do see upside, what's been happening for the shorter term is that Tesla's not really running as much because when you look at the last, couple of weeks for Tesla, we've been trading in a range for the most part. So for the most part, we've been kind of getting rejected off this 180 to 182 area, and we keep getting bought up around this 173 to 172 area as well. We've been going back and forth here for the last couple of weeks, and you guys can see there were just a couple of exceptions when Tesla kind of dipped a little bit lower, and one moment where Tesla got a big bounce out of it before getting bought back into the range. It did break out because of that big news that came out involving the potential design for the robotaxi, not to mention more news involving PepsiCo making more deals with Tesla. So that's why Tesla got a temporary breakup before coming back down, and it's still range bound for now. So there's a very good chance it may just continue to remain this way before we see anything else. So I'll break down more details about this in just a few minutes. Let's first talk about some news. Firstly, for earnings, as you guys know, earnings are going to be very minor from this point on until the next cycle starts. They're not as crazy. For Tuesday, we have Kava and a few others, very, very minor earnings. For going into Wednesday, we have Chewy.com, not to mention Dick's Sporting Goods and Salesforce announcing earnings. And for Thursday, we have Kohl's, Foot Locker, and Dollar General before the market opens. And then after close, we have Costco and Dell. Now, Costco is going to be one of the biggest ones for retail, so we'll see how things go moving forward. For the economic calendar, I just want to call out that for Tuesday, May 28th is the next time we have data coming out. The market is closed today for Monday for Memorial Day, so that's going to be important. And Memorial Day is a very important holiday, guys. It's very important to remember those who sacrificed their lives for this country, for the USA. And I hope you guys are having a very, very awesome weekend as well and really remembering the meaning of it and spending time with family for those who have holidays. I know a lot of people have work today, so, it is what it is, but we just have to continue moving forward nonetheless. So the market opens again for Tuesday. The market is closed for today here in the US, by the way. That's why like the New York Stock Exchange and the New York Stock Exchange and the Nasdaq are closed. Going into Tuesday, the market reopens. We have Mester giving a speech at 12:55 a.m. And the first main speech is going to be Cash Kari at 9:55. He is known for being a bit more hawkish, so watch for that. Then we have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out, and then more data involving the money supply and more Fed speakers. So tomorrow is going to be mainly just Fed speakers, Cash Kari giving a speech, and etc. That's pretty much it for the markets. For Wednesday, we have the manufacturing numbers coming out, very, very minor data. For Thursday, we have initial jobless claims coming out plus some GDP numbers. And then for Friday, we also happen to have PCE data coming out. So Thursday and Friday are more heavy for the data side. Tuesday is coming out for tomorrow. The data is more minor. A bunch of Fed speakers, nothing too crazy. So we'll see how things go moving forward. Then we have the fear and greed index also coming out. This is currently at neutral. We were getting closer to fear on Thursday when the market got a big dip, and then we started to rebound on Friday. Now it's getting back closer to the greedy side. We're still neutral. Momentum is still in favor of greed as buyers are still present. We also have the puts and call option positioning going up as we're starting to see more puts being bought than before. And market volatility is still neutral. The reason for that is because of the fact that the VIX is still dipping a bit. But one thing worth noting about the VIX is that we're at the lowest level we've seen since 2019. At the level we're currently at, or very close to this zone, we do tend to see the VIX bounce. So we will see if the VIX gets that bounce. We'll give it a little bit more time. For Nvda, one thing worth noting is that the CEO, Jensen Huang, has come out and he said that Tesla's far ahead in self-driving technology as autonomous driving efforts boost chip demand. That's great news because he got some recognition from Elon Musk. And I do agree with this point that Tesla's far ahead of their competition. On top of this, Tesla's Sales are down about 12% in March, despite the fact that the US EV sales are up 3.8%. But you guys can see that in the month of March, the data just came out. We have about a 52% share of the market, according to reports. Tesla's sales are not too bad overall. There is a bit of a dip, and there was some weakness, at least early on for the year. But generally, as we approach the summertime, things do improve a little bit. So we'll hope we get a slight improvement for Q2 for Tesla. This data is kind of like delayed. It's kind of like late, so I wouldn't necessarily worry too much about this for now. For more data, what's making more headlines right now is that the shareholders of Tesla are advised to reject Musk's $56 billion pay package plan. Now, this was kind of agreed upon many shareholders before, but now they're trying to reapprove it. We're going to wait and see if this would end up being the case. This is going to be very, very important. There's been a lot of legal action involving this, so it's very complicated. I personally, I'm just going to respect what the shareholders want to do when the vote comes out over the next few weeks. So we'll wait and see how things end up going. But that's going to be very, very important for Elon Musk and the others out there. So we'll wait and see what happens with this coming out. We'll see if Musk's package is approved or not. I will respect the shareholders' decision. That's all I really want to say about that. And we'll see how it goes. Cantor Fitzgerald has given Tesla an overweight rating. The price price ratio is still holding up as Tesla is holding up relative to the market for now. And then when it comes to seasonality, we're green about 52% of the time on Tuesdays. And we tend to see more green at 10 a.m., around noon, and then around 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. June is historically green 78.5% of the time, which is not bad whatsoever. And we'll see how things change at least from here. Last thing I just wanted to mention is that the volume for Tesla was about 66 million. So we're getting very dry volume. We need a bullish catalyst or some kind of catalyst to really push this. So for now, that does favor Tesla may not make crazy moves unless we get some catalyst for high volatility. So what do I see for the markets, guys? I'm going to be kind of quick for this video because I know that the holiday is coming up and people want to just enjoy. So what do I see with this moving forward? Here's my answer. Looking at Tesla, we have a very, very nice looking inverse head and shoulders like structure that is developing right now. And with this developing this way, if Tesla continues to break out to higher levels, I do believe that there's potential for it to push in the month of June. But like I said earlier, the problem is we've been range bound for the last couple of weeks, and Tesla loves to get rejected off 180 to 180 points, 180 points, or 182, excuse me. So around that area. So I think that there's a very good chance that Tesla is at this resistance right here. It might try to go a little higher, but the last time we had 182, we got a rejection. So we'll wait and see. Tesla looks to me on the 4 hour like it might push a little higher, retest 180. If that breaks, watch 182. And then we might reject here and start dipping back down lower, in my opinion, to fill this imbalance. If we were to lose 176 our 200 EMA, look for 175 and 173 as our supports. But I favor that Tesla will most likely attempt to go a little bit higher, push up towards 180, if not 182, then make our way back down to these lower levels where this imbalance happens to be. So I find that to be very, very probable. So look for a pop and drop like move, watch the 200 EMA as support, and see if we end up dipping even lower. So I'll be watching that very, very carefully. On top of all of this, I just want to say that if we do get a rejection close to this 180 zone, there could be a risk of us dipping lower for a lower structure. So I favor a little pop and drop as the most likely possibility, and we'll see how things go moving forward. For SPY, just to be very, very frank with everyone, when we look at the daily time frame, so I'm going to actually hide my drawings for a second. Let me show you the daily time frame and show you guys something very interesting. We have a very, very interesting looking candle structure. So what happened was we had a bearish engulfing candle, and we have this gap down here to fill. There's a bearish engulfing candle on the daily, and we had a slight rebound day on Friday, but there is a risk of it dipping if that does end up continuing. We saw this actually happen a few days ago. We saw this bearish engulfing candle, which led to a little bit of upside before the drop. And then going back, I have to go all the way back in the chart. The same thing happened during another period of the year where the market was just trying to hold up and we got a very, very similar reaction. So like right here, we got a bearish engulfing candle. We pumped a little bit before we ended up dumping. So we have a very, very interesting tendency of forming bearish engulfing candles before we get some sell-offs in the market. So I think that there's a risk of that happening, but I don't think it's going to be that crazy. Not saying it's going to be absolutely insane to the point where it's, we start crashing. I think that what's going to happen is SPY could try to push a little bit higher. We could retest 531 or so, and then there's going to be a risk of us dipping down to fill this gap. And I think we could revisit 521 to 523 before we try to bounce again and then continue higher. I do favor that a bit more as the most likely possibility, but my view could change. Excuse me. I'm always open to adjusting my analysis depending on how things go. If SPY were to break the all-time high and continue to go, then we're going to be on our way just under 540. If we lose 527.5 to that range around there, now I'll be looking at 525, 523, and 521. I personally think that the most likely possibility, though, is what I said earlier. once I show you these levels, that SPY will most likely end up kind of like rebounding a bit, trying to push a bit higher, continue with a potential flag that's forming. Try to fill this imbalance around 531, so push a little bit higher before we get a rejection. So look for a test of the 531s, then a rejection and move back down towards 528, if not 525. And then we do have a gap to fill below, so look for a pop and drop like move, and that is the most likely possibility. For Nvidia is pushing up very, very nicely. We have basically 1070 is our resistance. If we break this, look for 1080 and then 1100. I think Nvidia could go a little bit higher. There's going to be a little bit more upside coming, but watch resistance as we get closer to 1100. That's going to be key for the way it ends up moving. For the QQQ, just like SPY, I see the same thing coming. I think there might be a dip coming. We also happen to have a gap to fill all the way down here around this. This is like around 451. So I think we could go a little higher, retest 460, then reject and start dipping towards 455 or lower, or we might just start dipping from here to 455. If we lose that, we'll be looking at 451 as our next support, but I do find that to be very, very probable. For Apple, it's the same thing essentially because we happen to have a gap as well all the way down here towards, hold on, I'll just double check this. There's a gap to fill all the way down here on the hourly towards 182. So I wouldn't be surprised if Apple were to kind of pop a bit, retest the 190.5 zone, maybe go a little hard to fill this imbalance at 191, but then we could reject and start dipping down to 188 or below. And that's my personal opinion as the most likely possibility. And then lastly, for Bitcoin, I just wanted to mention that Bitcoin, in my opinion, has a risk of retesting resistance. So we basically hit this one important resistance zone, the 70,000 area, and now we're kind of rejecting here. If we lose 69,000, we're going to be looking for a dip on Bitcoin. We'll see if that holds or not. We're kind of fighting support right now. We pumped and kind of dumped on Bitcoin, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. But anyways, guys, as far as Tesla goes, there is upside potential for it to try to go a little higher, but watch resistance because right now Tesla is still range bound. You guys can see how this range has been playing out for the most part. There was some exceptions where it kind of popped above it just to get sold off right back into it. So look for a pop and drop as the most likely possibility, and we'll see if Tesla gets a bit of a rejection. I'll still be open-minded nonetheless about how this ends up moving. But with that being said, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. At least this far into the video. From this point on, I'm going to go over the rest of the tickers, but very, very quickly. I'm going to be very, very brief with the rest of them. I want to make this video kind of short. So with that being said, let's just get into it. For Palantir, on the 4-hour time frame, we're going to likely be testing 21.17, if not 21.4. Look for a little push on it before it tries to reject. Overall, it's holding support, but I do see a risk of this kind of dipping a bit. So look for a little push higher first and see if we get a rejection or not. For Supermicro, I'm seeing the same thing. It's going to likely try to push higher towards the resistance at 902. And then we also have higher levels up here like 920. So it might go up, might go up to about 902 to 920, then reject and make its way back down to 880 for a pop and drop like move. Rivian may also do the same thing, look for a test of the 200 EMA at 10.63 before it rejects, but I find that to be very, very probable, a little bit of a push on Rivian for a rejection. For SoFi, we might try to push a little higher towards 7.02, then eventually 7.1. We may try to push up here, then eventually reject. So we'll have to see how things end up going. This also kind of resembles a head and shoulders, so there's a risk of SoFi tipping lower later on, but a pop and then a drop is most likely what I do see coming. For the IWM Russell 2000, I'm going to be looking for a push for 206.2 to 207. 207 is a zone that really likes to hover around. So a little bit of a push and a drop. I think that's the most likely possibility. So look for 206.2 to 207, then a rejection back down. For AMD, we look more bullish, technically speaking. I'm going to be looking for a test of 170. A lot of the chip stocks are still pushing, so look for 170, this imbalance to fill. And we'll see if we get a rejection or not. We could try to push higher, so we'll give it some time. But I do think 170 is a very, very strong possibility. For ARM, we're holding our 50 EMA quite nicely. So I do see potential for us to go a little higher towards this 117 area. So look for 117, 117 on ARM and see if we get a rejection or not. For Coinbase, we're trying to push a little bit higher. I do see potential in this to retest 240 or so. So we'll see how things go with that test that's coming. And then we'll see what the move happens to be, 240 to 242. That's going to be key for how we end up moving. For Amazon's going to likely test this 180 area. If we bounce off this, look for a push for 182.8. If we lose 180, we're going to be dipping down to 178. So I'll be watching to see if we hold 180. For Meta, we're looking a bit more bullish, but just be careful. We have a possible head and shoulders like structure. If Meta rejects here, the head and shoulders will likely have more merit, as we can end up testing 469 and then potentially even lower levels. If we break through this and we end up, pushing towards 482 and we break through that, we could turn back to bullish. We'll just have to wait and see. Break 482 and you're bullish, reject here and start losing 472, then we're bearish. We'll just give it some time and wait and see how things go. For Microsoft is trying to uptrend right here. Look at resistance currently at 432. If we reject there, we're going to be looking for a move back down to about 428 or lower. If we continue to push higher, then we could keep going. But at the very end of the day, I do favor upside. I do think it's going to be testing at least 432. So watch to see what the move is from there. Google is showing some weakness. We're kind of rejecting here, respecting a bit of a downtrend. If we fail to break 176.7, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 174.5. And I do find that to be very probable. For GameStop, we're looking more bullish to me overall. We're actually forming a nice accumulation structure. We did come down to almost fill this gap. I think we almost filled it, and now we're trying to rebound. So I think that GameStop, whether we come down to fully fill the gap and bounce or not, it is going to bounce soon. It's going to base between 17 and 19, and eventually look for a push back into the 25 plus area over the next month. I think that's very probable. And for AMC, I think that this thing is going to shuffle in this range that we have right here. But then eventually AMC is going to break out towards $7 over the next couple of weeks. I do think it has potential to rebound a bit as well. For DJT, it's looking like it's trying to push higher. Look for 46.2 to be tested. If we break that, look for 47.5. For the VIX, it is dipping a little bit, could dip a little bit lower into the 11.6 area. So it is looking a bit more bearish to me, meaning the market may push a little higher, but do not turn into a perma bull for the markets historically. And let me actually show you guys this one more time. When I go to the weekly of the VIX, you will notice that we love to kind of bounce off the area we're currently in historically. So if I go all the way back on the charts to about 2019, right here, it loves to bounce off this 11, like 11 to 12 area, basically. Like in a nutshell, 11 to 12, it loves to bounce. It did that every single time in 2019. That's the level we're at currently. The lowest the VIX has been since 2019. So it loves to bounce in this area. We'll see if that ends up getting a bounce or not. But that does favor the market. May get a little rejection soon, so just be careful for a little pullback. The 10-year is going to react to what Kashkari says tomorrow, so watch for his speech. So be a little bit patient with that. And then we'll see if the dollar gets a bounce or not. The weekly is looking a little bit weak. The 4 hour is also showing some weakness on the dollar, so it does favor some downside, which means the market may push a little bit more. So we'll just have to see if that ends up being the case. With that being said, guys, that's it for the video. Tesla's approaching some tough resistance between 180 and 182. We'll see if Tesla rejects or not off this area, so just be very, very mindful of that. And this is what the chart looks like so far. Here are your very important levels. So we'll see how things go. I think we could try to push a little higher before we get that rejection, so we'll just wait and see. But with that being said, I just want to say I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for listening. Have a very, very spectacular rest of the day. Have a very happy Memorial Day, and I'll see you guys very, very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.